Ahsoka Season 1 is now officially over. Thrawn's plan did come to fruition, although not without its hitches, because Ezra made it back too, and Ahsoka is now stranded. However, there is the Morai situation, which we're going to talk about in a later video, but the most interesting, fascinating part of that whole finale, I think for me, was Baylan standing atop the statue of the father from Mortis, with the son on the left side, and on the right side you can see the body of the daughter. However, she does not have a head. This gave me real pause into the symbolism. What actually is happening here? What does this mean? We're going to talk about everything in this video. And why does on Peridea these statues not only exist, but why does the daughter's statue has been literally defaced? First of all, you have to recognize the Lord of the Rings symbolism here, the similarities. You have similar statues in the Lord of the Rings, similar setting, the mountain setting, and of course the far, far away mountain symbolizing Mount Mordor. Now, if you know anything about the Lord of the Rings, you know that Mount Mordor is nothing fun. From the depths of lava in there was made the One Ring to rule them all, essentially an evil apparatus used by Sauron. I don't doubt that here in the Ahsoka and the Star Wars version, well, it's not going to be great either when Baylan reaches this mountain ultimately. To start with, I want to talk about Baylan and that character, how he's going to progress in Season 2. The interesting part that everybody I think is missing is of course the actor himself, Ray Stevenson, who passed away just before the Ahsoka series released. And now, sadly, we have to discuss the character itself, who is going to portray the character. The decision that Dave Filoni has to come to is very important, because do they recast him if they have more story to tell out of Baylan, or if he just goes to this mountain and sacrifices himself, essentially dies, and we have no more Baylan after episode 1, let's say, of Season 2, then Dave Filoni might opt to deepfake Ray Stevenson on another actor in a similar build to Baylan. So whether they recast him or deepfake him, it all depends on what Dave Filoni has planned for his storyline after this finale. Then we get to the question, what is on that mountaintop that is shining a beam of light? What Baylan is gonna get there? But let's talk about these statues first and explain why the daughter is missing her head. First of all, you have to know that these are the three gods of Mortis, and they were introduced in the Clone Wars as the father, the daughter, and the son. They served to guide the Force along its path in the galaxy. They had the ability to shapeshift, and according to them, their purpose was to guard the power, quote-unquote, meaning the Force itself. The realm of Mortis acted as a conduit through which all the Force in the universe flowed, according to Qui-Gon, and the Mortis gods were the ones who controlled that flow while ensuring the duality between the dark side and the light side remained. The yin and the yang was always supposed to be present. This was the balance. So you can clearly see here that not only in the main galaxy, but even in another galaxy, the Mortis gods are present. In Star Wars Rebels, Ezra Bridger finds a mural of the Mortis gods in the Jedi Temple of Lothal. This led him to the world between worlds. Then we have inscriptions of the Mortis gods in some sacred Jedi texts used by Rey in Rise of Skywalker. Even Baylan, when talking to Shin, says that there is something on this planet if the old stories are true. He mentions previously the pathway to Peridea. They were fairy tales in the Jedi Temple. So, according to Baylan, there was knowledge of the Mortis gods within the Jedi Order. However, it seemed to have been waned as the years went on. The interest was lost, and the Jedi didn't preoccupy themselves with any of this. It was old folklore that Baylan seems to have believed. Now, in the finale, we see Baylan standing on the hand pointing to the mountain of the father. What you have to know right now is that the symbolism, as we talked, Baylan is right in the middle. You see, the father is portrayed as an aged man who maintains the balance of the Force by keeping his children in check. He believed that the realm of Mortis was the only place he could fully control his children and prevent them from tearing the fabric of the universe apart. Sadly, in the Mortis arc, it is revealed that the father was actually dying and that he was losing his grip on his ability to control his children. While the father was tempered enough to keep this balance, he knew that the daughter and the son were too far aligned on either side for them to be trusted with the Force. In other words, they wanted to exert their power. Both the daughter wanted light, but the son wanted the universe to embrace the dark side of the Force. So yes, the daughter represented the light side of the Force. And unlike her brother, who wanted more and more power, the daughter took the role as the light side in somberness. She believed and trusted her father's decision in keeping her and her brother captive, and she only exercised her power when her brother challenged her. In other words, she was selfless, acting only to temper the dark side. This is the most fascinating part, because once we see Baylan on Peridea on those statues, the daughter's statue has been decapitated. This, of course, symbolizes that on this planet, she does not belong. The light side is dim here, while her body is present, symbolizing that there is a presence of light side roaming around. Mostly if its head has been decapitated, then the light side is all but gone from Peridea. Baylan chooses balance, standing atop the father statue on his hand pointing to the mountain, while the sun is prominent on his left side, meaning that Peridea mostly leans towards the dark side of the Force. And this is also apparent when we have the Witch Tower, when we have the Great Mothers wielding dark magic. Baylan himself says that there is a strong presence on this planet and it calls on me. This presence seems to be on the top of that mountain, which is shining and which the father himself is pointing to. But is he pointing to this mountain saying stay away from there, or is he pointing to this mountain saying you should go seek this power? Of course, the biggest theory roaming around, which we will find out in season 2 or perhaps even in the Mandalorian movie, whichever comes first. Now with the strikes, we have no idea what's going to happen, but most of all, we have to really get into the crux of the problem. First of all, many people believe it is Abeloth. In the Fate of the Jedi novel series, now a part of Star Wars Legends, of course, the ancient being known as Abeloth is introduced. She was primarily the antagonist in that series. Originally, she was a mortal woman who stumbled across the three Mortis gods. She eventually took her place as the absent mother in the family. So unlike the father who merely contained his children, Abeloth was able to get them to cooperate. However, as a mortal, Abeloth eventually grew old and wanted to be immortal. This in turn made Abeloth drink from the font of power, and she swam in the pool of knowledge. While these acts granted her immortality, they also twisted her into a terrifying, powerful entity of the dark side. What happened afterwards? Well, the rest of the Mortis god, they feared her power, so then they imprisoned her. However, by what we saw in the Clone Wars and in the Mortis arc, that symbolized their deaths. So now it means that Abeloth might be freed by Baylan. Dave Filoni might be trying to bring Abeloth to canon, and that shining beam on that mountain could be the Abeloth prison. This is why I said in the beginning the father might not be pointing to go there, but might be pointing to that is the prison of Abeloth, and if you know the story, do not dare to go there. However, we talked about the bad, now let's talk about the good, because Baylan does not seem to be evil and does not seem to go for the dark side for more power. He wants balance for sure. This is clearly symbolized because he is standing on the father. So, does this actually mean that Baylan is going to drink from the font of power and is going to swim in the pool of knowledge? This is what he may find there atop this mountain. That's what he's talking about, this grand power that calls to him. He might go there and become a supernatural being, a powerful being that will try to bring balance, destroy the Force itself. Again, I know we want Abeloth to come back and for Baylan to free her, maybe try to cooperate with her. This canon Abeloth might be different from the Legends Abeloth, but it ultimately doesn't really make sense for Baylan to go so far as to free a psychotic supernatural just for her to destroy everything. He might think that there is the font of power and the pool of knowledge atop that mountain, and that he will become the one who will stop both the Jedi and the Sith, both the light side and the dark side, both the Empire and the New Republic. It's very interesting and fascinating what's gonna happen after this season, but I would love to know what you guys think as well, so talk to me down below.